Let's talk about one of Batman's most powerful tools he has, his gauntlets. An item that has gone by many different names: shock gauntlets, impact gauntlets, heat gauntlets, seismic gauntlets. All these names denote different functionalities and abilities that Batman's gauntlets have shown. What I'm going to do in this video is not only show you the different functionalities and abilities of Batman's gauntlets, but also establish consistency for those gauntlets. So let's just get right down to it. Batman has demonstrated many different ways in which his gauntlets can increase his AP. As we see in Justice League issue number 45, Batman was able to use his gauntlets in his shock gauntlet mode to knock Superman on the ground and temporarily release the hold of the Spectre from the Man of Steel. We see a better showing of the shock gauntlets from Justice League issue number 38, in which Batman was able to draw blood from Apex Lex Luthor, and along with Superman and Wonder Woman, was able to knock him out. In World's Finest issue number 5, which is set in the past during the time that Dick Grayson was Robin, we can use this issue to establish consistency. The fact, like with many of Batman's equipment, it grows and evolves over time. Instead of actually being built into his gauntlet, in the past it was more like a brass knuckle add-on that he would grab from his utility belt. He was able to damage Nezha, although the reason for this is because Nezha is weak to modern technology. In Justice League of America, issue number 26, we see Batman first use his seismic gauntlets mode. Now, this mode is different from the shock gauntlets due to how they functionally work. Basically, Batman can utilize these to increase his AP and mimic the attack potency of Geoforce. However, Batman can only do so many attacks with the seismic gauntlets before he shatters his own arm. In Batman Incorporated issue number 1, we see an unnamed earlier version of Batman's impact gauntlets. I'm saying impact gauntlets because it doesn't look like they're the shock or the seismic gauntlets. However, Batman is able to use this to destroy a mech. In Batman Annual issue number 1, we see the first use of Batman's heat gauntlet feature. This functionality is pretty straightforward, increasing the heats to extreme temperatures on Batman's gauntlet, utilizing it to fight Mr. Freeze and break out of his ice. We see this gauntlet return in Batman Eternal issue number 31, where once again he uses it to fight Mr. Freeze, once again establishing consistency for this functionality of his gauntlets. In DC's The Doomed and the Damned one-shot, we see that Batman carries nth metal knuckles on him. While this may not be built into his gauntlets, they are an add-on that he can use. Batman primarily uses this to fight supernatural and non-corporeal enemies, but like with all nth metal, can be utilized to increase his AP and his overall physicals. In Deathstroke, issue number 32, we see that Batman's suit can actually drain the protective shielding on Deathstroke's icon armor. We also see from the same issue that Batman's gauntlets can absorb kinetic energy to charge them up. We see consistency for Batman's gauntlets being able to absorb kinetic energy and energy in general from Justice League issue number 41, in which Batman's gauntlets are able to absorb the Green Lantern energy being flung at him, and then powers up his knuckles and proceeds to deliver an attack. In Batman Superman issue number 5, we see that Batman, along with Prep Time, was able to have a hacking feature on his gauntlet. He used this to remove the Scarab from Jaime Reyes, who was infected by the Batman Who Laughs. In Detective Comics, issue 1065, we see that the voltage of the gauntlets can be regulated depending on the situation. Batman uses 50,000 volts while underwater to take this demon out. He was able to hit the demon hard enough to release his grip. And we see consistency for this in Justice League issue number 43, in which Batman regulates the impact gauntlet's power to 200%. In Deathstroke issue number 34, we see that the gauntlets can shoot energy out of them, which is not the only time that we've seen projectiles come from the gauntlets. In Batman and Robin issue number 29, although for this issue relabeled Batman and Aquaman, we see that Batman can fire tranquilizer darts from his gauntlet. We also see in Batman vs. Bane one-shot that Batman's gauntlets can shoot out batarangs, as seen here. That's not all they can shoot out. In Batman The Dark Knight, issue number 29, we see that Batman has grapples and a line in both his gauntlets, in case he can't get to his grapple hook in time. We also see in Batman and Robin, issue 28, again renamed Batman and Two-Face for this issue, Batman can fire a rocket out of his gauntlets. In Batman Gotham Knights, issue number 15, Batman has a finger laser on his gauntlets. And in Batman Urban Legends, issue number 4, while chasing after Mr. Freeze, we see Batman's gauntlets can extend out claws, which he can use to grab onto surfaces and climb. But we see a better version of this in Batman issue number 95, in which Batman can electromagnetically charge his gauntlets and also his boots to climb up walls, just like Spider-Man. And we see consistency for this in DC's New Talent Showcase 2018, issue 1. Batman's gauntlets, well charged, are strong enough that they can hold on to the side of a plane while in flight. In Detective Comics issue number 1022, we see that the blades on the underside of Batman's gauntlets can be fired out. But not just that, they can be fired out with a zip line to them. In All-Star Batman issue number 3, we see that Batman has a bat knuckle feature, which allows several little bat-oriented spikes to come out of the gauntlets. These seem to have no extra function other than piercing damage. And we see in Legends of the Dark Knight Digital First, issue 10, that Batman can actually create fire out of his gauntlets, similar to the Heat Gauntlet mode. However, this encases his entire gauntlets in fire. To quote Paris Hilton, that's hot. In Detective Comics 1028, Batman can shoot a taser line out of his gauntlets. And lastly, let's wrap up with some security defenses. In City of Bane, Batman Secret Files number 2, we see that if someone tries to remove the gauntlets, that'll just shock them. As you can see here, the gauntlets have multiple different functionalities and abilities to them. Some of these abilities, such as his shock gauntlets, impact mode, energy absorption, or the ability to shoot various different weapons out of his gauntlets, are built into the gauntlets. While other functionalities, such as his nth metal or his seismic gauntlets, he keeps on him in his utility belt that he would have to then proceed to equip. Regardless of what the functionality is that he's using his gauntlets for, the one thing that we know for sure that is demonstrated here is consistency of use, as well as consistency being a base item. Some people may question, if Batman has these items in base, why doesn't he use them more often? In which the answer is obvious. First is he utilizes them only on overpowered enemies, as per Deathstroke, they were designed to fight against people like Superman, so using them on a random mugger would be a bit overkill. And number 2, if it's not overkill to use them on regular criminals, typically some of them have side effects or downsides if using them too much, like the seismic gauntlets only getting 5 to 10 hits off before Batman would shatter his bones. I think all of the gauntlets or all the features are impressive, but I think the 3 most impressive are probably the shock gauntlet mode, which has the most impressive showings against Superman being possessed by the Spectre in Apex Lex, the nth metal knuckles, which can be used to attack ghost, supernatural, and non-corporeal entities by adjusting itself to their frequencies and attacking them, as well as being used to increase Batman's AP and physicals. And lastly, I particularly like the energy absorbing capabilities of the gauntlets, taking one's energy attacks and using them to charge the gauntlets themselves. But yeah, there's the basics on Batman's gauntlets, whether it be shock gauntlets, seismic gauntlets, impact gauntlets, heat gauntlets, or anything in between.